everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 71483, the Neverwitch's Nightmare Creatures from the LEGO Dreamzzz theme. This set contains 457 pieces, 5 minifigures, and will retail for $44.99 in the US. This set is not officially released until August 1st, 2024, but it was gifted to me early for review by the LEGO Group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. Now, this is a LEGO Dreamzzz set, and all LEGO Dreamzzz sets have alternate builds. However, this set actually has 2 alternate builds, making it a 3-in-1. I will be covering all 3 builds in this video, so make sure to watch the video all the way through if you want to see my thoughts on all of them. And make sure to let me know in the comments which LEGO Dreamzzz set you want to see an early review on next. But now, with all that being said, let's take a look at the build. So there's 2 builds in this set. We have a little bit of terrain, and then we have the actual Nightmare Creature. The Nightmare Creature is of course the main focus of the set, but that's the thing that gets rebuilt too. Throughout the 3 different versions, this build stays the same, so we're going to take a look at this first, even though it's the less significant part of the build. There's a Cauldron on the side right here, and this is probably one of the most interesting new parts of this set. You get 2 of it in this set, the other one's used on the actual creature build. But yeah, it's this all-new molded Cauldron piece, and it's actually 2 parts, they come together in the middle. This honestly has a super cool look to it. I love these stickers on the sides too with like the little swirls on them. And you can see it's boiling over this green fireplace, and that can very easily be removed. There's how that build looks, detached from everything too. Yeah, really amazing new part. This is the first of sets that I've built, so I'm not sure if it comes in any of the other sets this wave, but regardless, it's easily one of the standout aspects of this set. Then we just have some rocky terrain. I like this like magenta liquid flowing out right here. And then there's a tiny little tree that comes up right here. Now the accessories hanging off the tree are very interesting. I believe these are meant to be like the collectibles of this wave, but you get most, if not all of them in this set. And these look to be tiles representing the different realms in LEGO Dreamzzz. So you have this yellow one that has the candy realm on it, this trans-purple one, which is like the video game realm, I forget exactly what that one's called, and then I think this one at the back is the fantasy realm. This clear piece they're contained in, by the way, I believe is a new part. It's very similar to just like the standard clear dome piece that we've had for years, but it's got like this crystalline design at the top now. From the box art, I didn't even realize this was new, but that's an interesting change. I mean, it makes the part more unique, I'm not against it. It's just so small that I'm surprised they changed that at all. But yeah, cool new part to add to LEGO's lineup. Here's how the tree connects to the back, nothing too crazy, and it can move a little bit if you want. And then at the very top of the tree, there's this all-new Raven piece. Now this is one of the Neverwitch's Ravens, and they come in pretty much all the sets this wave. Maybe not every single one, but I know they come in a lot. And this is an all-new part, and wow, does it look fantastic. It's dual molded in trans pink and just solid black. And it's a really amazing piece, because this could very easily be reused in like LEGO City with different colors. And it's just a fantastic bird shape in general. The molding's really well done, but the trans pink makes it feel like extra magical and nightmarish. I'm so glad these guys are so prevalent in sets and really not difficult to get. Of course, there's an anti-stud at the bottom, and that's how you can grab onto one of these. And that way the Raven can like snatch the memory and fly away with it. So yeah, solid little side build, really love getting all of these here. There's also one more in this set that you'll see on one of the minifigures later in the video. But now here's the main Raven build, and being completely honest, I don't love this one. Now, I am filming this video in the order you're seeing it, so I haven't built the other 2 builds yet, but from the back of the box, I think I'm gonna like those 2 a lot more. So this is not me saying this set is necessarily like something I don't like, but I will say if this is all the build was and there was no alternate builds, I probably wouldn't be the biggest fan of this set. That being said, it's not terrible, like don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is a bad build, I just think it's far from the strongest that we've seen from LEGO Dreamzzz or just LEGO in general. First up, stability is not the best. You've got these giant wings on these tiny little legs that connect with like mini ball joints, and as you can see, yes, I do have it standing up, but it's not like the easiest to pose this standing up. Like a lot of the poses that I attempt with it just cause it to topple over. But because the wings are big, but also the head's big and the tail's big, you have to be very particular on how you pose this. One of the best ways to do it is to just angle the tail down, so that helps to keep it up. But yeah, that's not the only way to pose things, like you do have other options like this, but it is very limited, so that's something to be aware of. Now in terms of the actual design, I think the head looks pretty good. I will say it feels like maybe a little monocolor at the front. I would have liked another sticker like right here, but I think the shaping's pretty good and there's a very obvious beak at the front. The eyes are actually pretty cool. Those are all new printed pieces for this wave, and there's actually 2 different colors. On one side it's green, the other side it's blue. That makes the entire animal a lot more interesting. We also have 2 stickered pieces right here, one with some feathers and another with some runes. I will say the overall color scheme on this build's fantastic. It fits the Neverwitch perfectly, and it's very similar to the one that we saw in like the Nightmare King last year. However, there are some differences, like using a lot more of the regular purple and the magenta, and I much prefer this color scheme to that one. It's a lot more fun while still feeling like ominous and spooky. At the body of the bird, you can see the other Cauldron piece, and it's got like these spider legs wrapped around it. That's because if you don't put together this build originally, it's like a spider cauldron in there. I'll show you that when I go to rebuild it. But I love that that's incorporated into the bird's body. That's really cool. We have a seat for the Neverwitch right here too. The back of the chair connects with the mini ball joint, and you have another stickered piece right here with that like swirl symbol that we saw in the Cauldron earlier. This looks fine. I'm not crazy about this design, but I don't hate it either. And then you have these gems at the front, do I guess be like handlebars to control the bird? That feels a little odd for like a living creature, but I suppose that works. And then coming to the wings, I actually really love how these look. These like large purple teeth pieces are so cool, it's awesome to get that part in that color. And then you have like these smaller magenta rubber ones too, and those fit in perfectly. This does a great job to represent feathers. The wings connect to the body in rigid Technic joints so you can move them up and down as well as spin them all the way around if you want. From underneath they're not the prettiest, but I wouldn't expect them to be. They're fine for what they were going for in this set. And then moving down the back, I really love the use of like these dots type techniques to make it look like feathers. And again, the colors used here are beautiful. The actual tail might be my favorite part of the build. I think the sculpting here is really, really good. And they've got like this energy burst coming out the back that was introduced in the first Dreamzzz wave, though I think this might be a new recolor for it. It's what, like purple and trans pink? And this is a part that seems very specialized, but honestly, it's surprisingly versatile. Like, in the context of being on a bird, yeah, this looks like feathers to me. And I love how it fits in with like this V shape right here. Now, these parts are a little loose, they can be pushed out of place if you're messing with them. Something to be aware of, but not a big deal. And then there's the legs, which as I mentioned are one of the weakest parts of this build. I have to imagine when designing things it's tough to make the legs of a bird, because obviously birds in real life are so light and they have these tiny little legs, and you can't do that with Lego. The body's way too big to do legs in scale. So these are obviously much bigger than actual bird legs would be, but even still they feel a little too light to hold up the weight of the rest of the bird. So I don't know what the best option would have been. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of these tube pieces here. I think they're great parts and I love that Dreamzzz uses them in so many sets. And it leads to increased posability, however I think it makes things too loose. I think I would have preferred something more rigid with less posability. Because the legs do connect to the actual body on rigid Technic joints, and that is a really strong connection, like it's locked in place. But the stability issues come from the fact that the legs can swivel and the feet are on mini ball joints. And even down to the toes, which are individually posable, but again, just contribute to the idea that, like, none of this is, like, solid in place. And, like, visually, I think the legs are okay. I do like the trans pink tube pieces, but I feel like maybe something better could have been done. So overall, it's okay. I don't hate it. I've been looking at this build a lot during this review, and sometimes I look at it and I'm like, wow, that's a bird. They capture that shape really well. And other times I'm like, I don't even know what's going on here. So I'd say it's decent. I'm not in love with it and it has its flaws, but it's also not a bad build by any means. However, of course, that's only one of the 3 different builds you can make in this set. So now let me take this apart and rebuild it into the second build. As I'm doing that, though, let me real quickly show you the instructions, because the LEGO Dreamzzz instructions are always, like, illustrated and stylized, so I think they're really cool to look at. The bird looks fantastic here. I love how the feathers look. And there's, of course, a whole storytelling aspect to the instructions, too. First bag, you can see Mateo discovering the tree, and then the Never Witch in her cauldron. Here's where the evil Logan comes in. And then this is the page where you get to pick your build. So here's the 3 different options. You have the Raven, which we just looked at, the Wolf, which I'm going to build next, and then finally the Doom-Blob mech, which is the one that I'm most excited for, and I think that's the one I'm probably going to like most. And then each of the final builds does have an illustration at the end. There's Doom-Blob, and there's the Wolf. So now let me rebuild this into the Wolf. Oh, and quickly, here's how the Spider Cauldron looks before adding it to the center of the build. Alright, and there we go, there's the Wolf build all put together, and as I expected, I like this one significantly more than the bird. Starting at the face, the sculpting here is genuinely fantastic. I'm so impressed that this is an alternate build. We've seen a lot of like brick-built wolf faces recently in Ninjago, because we had the Photak Beast last year, and then obviously the Wolf Clan this year. So we've had, what, 3 different brick-built wolf heads in all the different Ninjago sets? And the ones from this year in Ninjago are pretty good, but I have to say, I like this a lot more than the Photak Beast from last year. The shaping here is genuinely perfect. I like the little spikes to be the ears, like the big puffy cheeks on the side, and I think the printed eyepieces work a lot better here than it does on the bird. The face is easily the best part of this build. It's very impressive. Now, one small flaw that was also a flaw with the bird is the entire face structure can, like, come off super easily. It only connects with these 4 studs right here. So if you're moving this around playing with this, it's very easy to accidentally pop it off. That's something to be aware of. It's not like the end of the world. It is, like, a strong enough connection, but I would have liked it that was maybe a little bit better. There's still a seat on the back of this one, though this one's a little bit different. And there's how it looks to have a minifigure actually on the wolf. You can see they're standing on the throne now instead of sitting on it. But the back still connects with a mini ball joint. The front legs of the wolf are done very similarly to the legs of the bird. The feet are a little bit smaller, but besides that, it's almost exactly the same. However, it works a lot better on the wolf than it does on the bird because there's 4 legs total, so there's still the back legs to provide additional support. There's a bend in the center of the wolf's body. You can see it comes down and then arches back up. I always love when LEGO sets do that, and it looks super cool. Now, that's actually a point of articulation. You can rotate the body down if you want. With the body straight, I don't think the build looks as good, but that's entirely up to you how you want to pose that. And then here we have the back legs, which are the only part of this build I honestly don't like. The issue with them is they're just way too big and bulky, so they can't really go flat against the wolf's body. Instead, if you have the wolf properly posed like this, they always have to be coming out of the body at an angle. And I don't know, when looking at the full build, I feel like that's just a little awkward. I wish things went a little more flat there. Now, if you want, you can bend the legs back and fold them down like this, and then the legs look perfectly fine against the body. However, then the body itself is posed really weird. If you move that middle section, you can make that look somewhat good. Like, in terms of posing, I'm actually fairly happy with this. But the issue is when you don't have the bend in the center of the body, then you have this yellow Technic pin just sticking out. So that's clearly not the intended pose for this. The intended pose has the body like this. So I feel like there's nothing that's perfect. I think this is your best option with the legs splayed out. And it doesn't look terrible, it's just not the most intuitive for moving and posing. Still, the stability here is great, and I give the build a lot of points for that. And then the tail at the end is fantastic as well. They use all those feather pieces to make like a big bushy tail. And that looks so cool. Aside from the head, this is easily my favorite detail. You can see it connects onto the body on a ball joint, so you can move it around and pose it. And because of the four legs, it's very easy to pose this however you want and like still balance the build. Posability here is much better on this than it was on the bird. Oh, and I guess I forgot to point out, there's a second seat back here if you want to have two minifigures riding the wolf. This is super impressive for an alternate build, and honestly, even if this was just the main set, I would still really like it. The back legs are the only thing that's like a little bit awkward, but honestly, that's not a big deal at all. I definitely prefer this to the main bird build, but now let me rebuild this once more into the Doom-Blob mech. Real quick, if you guys are enjoying this video, I just want to quickly ask you to please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm doing early reviews of all the LEGO Dream sets right now, and obviously I'm covering the alternate builds too, which takes a lot of time. So if you're enjoying this kind of content and you want to see more, liking and subscribing does a ton to help support me in the channel, and also helps to put my videos in your feed more often. So thank you all very much for your support. And now here's the third and final version of this build. We have a Doom-Blob. This is the version of the build I was most excited for initially because it's an evil version of the Z-Blob mech from last year. And now, having built them all up, this build is definitely very good. However, I think I slightly prefer the wolf that we just looked at. But this build's so different from the other two, and I think it's amazing that each of the three builds is so unique. The legs and feet here are done very similarly to the Z-Blob mech from last year. The feet are quite tall and they connect on ball joints, so you're able to move them around and pose them. And then these pipe pieces for the legs can swivel too. I think that's great for posing on a mech like this because it's very easy to balance, but gives you just so many more options. And then the actual legs connect to the body on the rigid tectic joint, so you can move them forward, move them back, as well as swing them out. The trans pink just looks so cool here too, because it is very reminiscent of the trans green used on Z-Blob, but again feels more evil and sinister. I love that. The little teeth on the feet are really cool small touches too. Coming up to the body, you can see the Cauldron pieces used once again with those spider legs coming up. That honestly makes for a really nice looking torso, and the sticker in the middle looks really good too. And then the arms are done very similarly to the legs. Again, rigid tectic joints to connect them to the body so you can move them out, move them in, as well as rotate them a full 360. But then the actual pipe pieces can swivel too, and the hand can swivel as well, so there's lots of different options for posing this. The hands have 3 individually posable fingers as well as a thumb, and there's a tactic hole in the hand to hold onto an accessory. We can see what that accessory is in the other hand. It's that power blast piece that we saw in the other builds, but now it's being used as a giant sword. The Z-Blob mech from last year had one of these in green, so it's really cool to see that reused here. And then we have the head at the top, which is a printed piece. I think that's honestly a really good design. It reminds me of like the Overlord from Ninjago Season 3. Just the solid black head with the magenta and yellow eyes. It takes Z-Blob's very basic design and makes it very ominous, very sinister. And then there's these wings in the back too, which are super cool. These are very similar to the wings on the bird version of the build, though with some very slight differences. And you can see these connect to the back on a mini ball joint. I think this is some cool consistency with the original Z-Blob mech too, because that one had a jetpack around the back. So it creates more contrast between the two, right? That one's more technology-based, and that's the good one. This one's more nature and magic-based, and it's the evil one. There's how the full torso looks in the back too, with all the feathers. This guy's honestly a ton of fun to move around and pose too. His stability is also pretty good. You can see I have one leg completely up and he's balancing. The swivel in the legs does make things a little bit difficult every now and then, because it's very easy for that to slide out of place and cause it to fall over. So of the 3 builds, the wolf's definitely the best for stability, but this does stand up better than the bird does. Just like the wolf, this easily could have been its own standalone set, so the fact that it's an alternate build is incredibly impressive. I'm very happy with this. Aside from the occasional stability issues with the swivel and the legs, my only other real criticism of this build is how the top of the torso looks. I feel like it definitely could have benefited from a little bit more bulk, because I feel like the arms are just in a weird place. The wings at the back help with that a lot, but I feel like they're still a little bit missing. So I would have liked to see some more bulk, some more armor there, but that's a very easy customization to make if you want. And again, I think it is important to keep in mind that this is an alternate build. I'm treating it like a main build because it's basically the quality of a main build, but yeah, this is an entirely optional alternate option. So with that in mind, this is really good. And that's not even everything for this version of the build, because if you choose to build the Z-Blob mech, you also get an additional side build. This version of the mech comes with a much smaller wolf, and this guy's super cute. Now the legs aren't able to move at all, which is unfortunate, but it's to be expected with a build like this. However, the body does hinge in the middle, so you can sort of make it look like it's running. The head at the front connects on a mini ball joint, and same thing with the tail at the back. And the strength of the connections on this build aren't amazing, like it's very easy to break pieces off accidentally. But I don't mind that too much, because honestly, this just feels like a bonus, right? This is an alternate build. They very easily could have just left all these pieces unused and said, okay, they just aren't used in the Doom-Blob build. But no, they had enough pieces to give you an extra wolf as well. And despite this definitely feeling like it was built using extra pieces, it's honestly fairly solid. The sculpt on the face is pretty good, and the body all throughout's designed to look somewhat fluffy, and there's even still a seat here to sit a minifigure if you want. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with this too. Between the 3 builds, the full-size wolf is definitely my favorite, but this is a close second. Both of these 2 builds are really good. I'll talk a little bit more about the 3 different builds at the end of this video, as well as give you my opinions on like the overall price of this set, but that's still not everything that the box includes, so now let's take a look at the minifigures. So here's the first minifigure in this set, and this is the only minifigure that's not new for this set. We have the Never Witch. I'll start out with the accessory because you can see it's absolutely massive. It's this giant staff with another one of those like memory capsules on top. Once again, it uses that crystalline dome piece, but you can see inside there's a printed tile, and this one's trans orange with a picture of Castle Nocturnia on it. This is a really cool staff piece, but it is absolutely gigantic, so I'm going to remove it for now. So here's the minifigure with that removed. We can see another new piece right here. She uses the hidden side ghost tail piece that was also later reused on like Energy Nia from Ninjago and even another LEGO Dreamzzz set earlier this year. But this is an all-new recolor for it, I believe. It's solid black and trans pink. That's a very cool new piece that honestly adds so much to this figure. The colors there look absolutely beautiful. It's an awesome piece in general, but especially on this figure, it looks amazing. But then the actual figure herself is pretty solid too. She's got this really cool dual molded like hair crown combo piece. I like the detail of having the little raven around the back. Coral's a cool color for her hair too. That's not a color we see used on hair too often in LEGO. But yeah, very sinister look to her. She definitely gives off evil vibes. Taking that hairpiece off, you can see her full torso print as well as her full face print, and that torso print is super unique. I don't know how to describe it, but I guess it feels like very dreamlike. Everything's like very swirly, nothing seems physical and real, but that makes sense for a character in LEGO Dreamzzz. And it's so unlike any other character design I've seen before. She's got the printed hips like many female LEGO characters have, but I think it's a cool detail how one side's pink and the other side's gray. It really adds to the whole like surreal dreamlike vibe of this figure, because it doesn't even make any sense. Like why would one side, the lack of space at her hips, be pink and the other side it be gray? It's like purposely breaking LEGO design standards to create something that seems really unique and special. And then her face print too, super expressive, super full of life, just a great design for a villain. Back torso print I love, all the metallic silver is super cool, and yeah, that's metallic silver on the front too. Love the super obvious spine in the back there and little swirls at the top. And then her alternate face too, again very like wide, evil smile. But then she's got like this triangular makeup on one side of her face. Very weird looking, but I absolutely love it. This is a great minifigure and honestly one of the most unique ones I've seen. Then here are the next 2 figures in the set. We have Mateo and we have Madteo. And this is the whole gimmick of this wave of LEGO Dreamzzz sets. The villains of this wave are evil versions of the main characters. So Madteo is obviously evil Mateo, and it's really cool to see these 2 side by side to see like how they're similar and how they're different. Starting by just talking about Mateo though, he has an all new design for this wave of LEGO Dreamzzz, and that new design also comes with a new accessory. He has this sword hilt with an hourglass built in, and that's a really cool new part. You get it in a few different colors in a few different sets. Then he's got like a Nexo Knight's blade piece coming out the top. It's a trans-like green, and we've seen that a lot in like a May from LEGO Monkey Kid. Not a new part or anything, but it fits him well. But then the coolest part, at the bottom of the hilt, he actually has Z-Blob there. That's the Z-Blob dome piece that I believe only came in 1 set the first wave. It did come in more sets the second wave in January. But now it's even more common just being a part of his accessory now. And that's really cool to see. I think it fits him well. And then in terms of the figure himself, he uses this all new like jacket piece. And honestly, I don't know how to feel about that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I'm genuinely very curious how you feel. Because on the one hand, I think it looks good, but on the other hand, it feels very just not LEGO to me. This feels like the kind of thing that should be printed. I don't know why it's a new 3D molded part. There's a stud on the back so you can attach something there, and that is cool. And it leads to more customizability. It's just so strange, because throughout the entire time I've been collecting LEGO since I was a kid, jackets are always a thing that's been printed. We've never had a 3-dimensional jacket piece before. So it just feels weird to see, even though I do think it looks good. Mateo's hair is a little bit different now too. He has the green streak that he always had, but now he also has a red streak too. Not sure exactly what that is. I've been watching the show to catch up, and I don't think they ever explained that, but I mean, hey, it's interesting, it looks cool. And then his face print's slightly different this time around too. New expression on him, he's got like the Ninjago face, and like a confident smirk on the other side. But then the other change is the Z-Blob effect on his face now goes down a bit further. Mateo as a character has vitiligo, and in the first wave of sets, the green just replaced the lighter parts of his skin tone, but now it's covering him up even more, and it seems like it's dripping down his face. I guess this is just because he's like further bonded with Z-Blob or something. I don't believe this transformation has taken place in the show yet, at least as far as I've seen. But it looks cool, and it's a good change to the face print. However, my favorite part about this minifigure is probably the leg piece, because wow, this is spectacular. Right off the bat, dual molding, side printing legs, toe printing, literally everywhere that this could be printed it is. But the actual design is fantastic too. His shoes look super cool. I love the black logo on the side of them, which is not the Nike logo, but feels like it could be implying the Nike logo. And the white and olive green just look so nice together. I appreciate little details like the strap coming around the side of his leg too. And then on the other side, it looks like he has crayons to draw, because of course he's an artist. And then finally, the torso print has Doom-Blob on it, which is a very cool touch. It only makes sense, you'd want to represent him in his clothing. And turning around, you can see he's now got like a flannel vest on if you remove like the 3D jacket piece. A little surprising that it's not just a printed version of the jacket. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about this torso print. With the jacket piece on, it looks pretty good, but without it, it's probably not my favorite. But I suppose it's solid for what it's trying to be. I think I'm just not the biggest fan of this as like a sleeveless design. This would probably look better with blue arms too. But yeah, overall, really good minifigure and really great redesign. They did a fantastic job with this one. And then you can see Madteo takes a lot of inspiration from this design, but obviously the colors are swapped around and everything's a lot more evil. So same hairpiece, but now it's black instead of brown, and he has 2 magenta streaks in his hair. His face and hands are now completely white, and he has that same makeup that the Neverwitch had. Instead of Doom-Blob on his torso, he has Doom-Blob on his torso. And then even the leg printing is very, very similar, but you can see how things were changed. That logo on his shoes is now a lot spikier, and you can see that on the front too. There's also little pink paint splotches, and that's because the crayons look to have been replaced with spray paint cans. And then his belt even has the little skull in the middle, which is very funny. One weird detail is Madteo's legs are not dual molded when Mateo's are. Madteo is just wraparound printing. And you know what? On Madteo, it looks fine. Like, there's no issue with that printing. It looks perfectly good. It just seems a little bit weird from the back when you see that, yeah, it's not dual molded. I have to assume that was a budget thing, but it's a weird bit of inconsistency between the two figures. However, it's not a big deal because both are really, really good. Madteo comes with an evil pencil as an accessory, because of course in the first 2 waves of sets, Mateo's accessory was always a giant like pencil sword, so Madteo now has the same thing but with darker colors. And there's how his torso print looks underneath everything. You can see he's got pins in the same places, and he's once again wearing a flannel, though his looks to be a little bit tattered and torn up. And there's the back torso print too, which is very similar between the two of them. There's Madteo's alternate face, where you can see he's, well, mad. And both of these expressions are quite good. We have happy, we have angry, but both seem very evil. Yeah, I'm very happy with these two, they're both great designs. And then here are the last 2 minifigures in the set, 2 more evil versions of the main characters. We have the evil version of Logan and the evil version of Zoey, who are called Dogan and Doey. Or Doey? I don't know the pronunciation on that, but yeah, very weird names. And these two aren't as good as Madteo. Like, they don't have side leg printing or anything, but they're still really phenomenal minifigures. Starting with Dogan, he's completely magenta to match Logan's, like, completely blue look, and he still has, like, the little bits of fur around his face that Logan has, which is pretty cool. Same color hairpiece, which I would have liked to see them switch that up. The black looks fine here and obviously matches the entire outfit, but I don't know, like, a solid white or something would have been cool to, like, really switch things up. And then these two both have this all-new armor piece. It's dual molded in trans pink and black, and it's very small, right? It's not, like, big or overbearing, but it adds some nice dimension, some nice texture to these figures. It makes me appreciate them a little bit more. Dogan is still in like the hoodie that Logan wears, though now he's got the Neverwitch's symbol in the center. And just like Madteo, everything's like very torn up. He's even got like these scratch marks in his back. Which, if I remember correctly, on Logan's torso, there's like a symbol that like shows scratch marks on it, but there's no actual scratch marks. So it's cool to see that transformed here, and that looks really cool. I will say Dogan's probably one of my least favorite of the evil main characters just because the rest look really good, but that's not to say this figure's bad per se, he's just not as strong as some of the others. And there is an alternate face on him where he's like smiling and laughing and he has fangs. And then coming to Doey, she's fantastic. The original Zoey from last year was my favorite figure of that wave, and this design is based off of that one, just with the colors all swapped around. The magenta for the hair I think is okay. I think that's honestly the least interesting part of this figure. I feel like another color might have been more interesting and fit this character better. Because Zoey's hair is already purple, so switching it to magenta doesn't feel like that different, but it does work with what's going on. Face print's good too. She's got the 2 different colored eyes that all of them have, and a slight smirk as well. She's got purple lipstick, which is cool to see they kept that. There's also still some purple in her torso. I guess all the evil characters do use purple to some extent, but that is a color that like Zoey uses as well. So I feel like it ties her back into the original character a little bit more. Taking the armor piece off, there's a full look of the torso print, and yeah, that's fantastic. And the white arms and face are just such a stark contrast to the black outfit. This figure really pops. Zoey's hairpiece in general is amazing too, so it's great to get it in another color because we only had it in purple previously, I believe. And there's the alternate face where you can see she looks a lot more unhinged, but she's still smiling. And those purple leaves continue on over here. I also just noticed her legs are gunmetal gray, the hips and torso are black, but the legs are different. That's a very subtle thing, but honestly I quite appreciate that. It gives the figure a little more texture, a little more dimension than it wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah, these two are great. Evil versions of the main characters is an inherently very fun idea, and I think they pulled it off really well. I do think Madteo is the best one, but that's just because he's the most detailed one. Doey's really high up there for me too, though. They did a great job with this figure. And there we go, there is all 3 builds of the Neverwitch's Nightmare Creature set. So, overall, would I recommend this set? Well, one thing I haven't touched on yet is the price. At $45, I do think is good for what you get in the package. That being said, the actual size of the builds does not feel like a $45 set. What do I mean by that? Well, with all 3 different builds, there's some pieces you don't use. Probably about 50, if I had to guess, 50 pieces aren't used in each build. And that's okay, all 3 builds are fantastic. fantastic here. I do not mind them including some extra pieces that aren't used in every single build. But I do think partially because of that, the builds do end up feeling a little bit small for $45. Personally, in my opinion, that's not a huge deal. You get 3 very high quality builds here, and the play value in this set is insane. The fact that you can swap between all 3 and they're all really good. And the minifigure selection is fantastic for the price. You get the main villain of this wave, the Never Witch, the new version of Mateo, the main character, and then the 3 like generic villains are still really amazing minifigures, and definitely very collectible ones too. So would I recommend this set? Honestly, yes, 100%. If you're a fan of LEGO Dreamzzz at all, this is one I'd recommend you pick up. I do think it's weird they advertise the Raven of all things in the front, because that's the only build that I'm not crazy about. Like, if you guys get this set, I recommend building either Doom-Blob or the Wolf. Both of those are really, really good builds, and the Raven is just whatever. But being completely honest, I don't know if I've ever seen a LEGO set like this before, where it's a 3-in-1 and all 3 builds feel like they could be the main build. Normally 3-in-1s are like, okay, here's the main build, and the alternate builds are like other options, but they're not really that great. No, this time around, all 3 are fantastic, and all 3 are so unique from each other too. No 2 feel alike. Honestly, if you're a huge fan of the LEGO Dreamzzz world, I could understand buying 3 of this set so you can have all 3 versions on display. Genuinely, this is really fantastic. I am incredibly happy with it. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And let me know in the comments which August 2024 LEGO Dreamzzz set do you want to see an early review on next. But as for this video, I think that's about all I have to say, so thanks for watching everybody. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.